Colonel, I have to escape from New York. Snake, you're in the wrong franchise. Oh, well, this is a review of Escape from New York, a cinematic adventure for the Everyday Hero system. Let's dive in. So here we have the Escape from New York, a cinematic adventure sourcebook compatible with the Everyday Hero system. Unfortunately, this PDF that I have doesn't really have the back cover, so I'm just going to read what it says on the website. In 1988, the crime rate in the United States rose by more than 400%. New York City, the site of a massive nerve gas attack by the Soviet Union, is transformed into a maximum security prison big enough to incarcerate every criminal in the country. Sealed off from the world by a 50-foot containment wall, it is a society in and of itself. Once you go in, you never come out. And that's pretty much the premise of Escape from New York. The introduction does a very good job at catching you up to speed, although it does make some assumptions to fill in the gaps between the two movies, that being Escape from New York and Escape from LA. To recap, a terrorist attack on New York resulted in the deadly Reagent 18 infecting hundreds of thousands of people, turning into crazies. To help combat this rampant violence and civil unrest, the United States Police Force is founded and the island of Manhattan is closed off to contain the threat. Also, this is where you go if you're sent to prison. In addition to the government factions, there's also a list of notable gangs that have taken root in Manhattan, which is very nice because it gives you flexibility to really do what you want with your bunch of prisoners, whether they're going to interact with all of these gangs in some fashion or whatnot. And there's like 13 different gangs here. There are 4 new backgrounds to play around with, although I'm surprised that one of them wasn't included in the core rulebook because it's generic enough. So we have the convict, the legend, the New York native, and the war veteran. This time around we get a whopping 11 new professions like charmer, nightshade druid, drug cook, fixer, gang leader, the gang soldier, the prison gladiator, rat catcher, revolutionary soldier, scavenger, and the USPF officer. Then we get 3 new classes. The Gutter Rat is a charming hero that excels in social skills and inflicting status effects on enemies with talents such as Play the Fool, which allows you to distract an opponent in combat, and Slippery, which allows you to have advantage on sleight of hand checks made to escape bonds. Their talents include Bleeding Strike, which deals bleeding damage at the start of each of their turns, kind of like Rambo's bleeding rules, and my personal favorite, Gloat, which gives a penalty equal to a roll of your influence die if the enemy should succeed on a saving throw from one of your talents or attacks. The Motorhead is a very niche class because it's all about the operation and maintenance of vehicles. Their big thing is that they can get rid of the penalty for driving and shooting, pretty much, but they can also really mod their vehicles that they have. The Street Warrior is a strong hero that is an all-around fighter. Their big thing is determination. So determination says, gain 1 point of determination when you fail an attack roll against an opponent in combat. You have a +1 bonus on attack rolls and a +2 bonus to weapon damage for each point of determination you have. When you hit an opponent with an attack in combat, you lose 1 point of determination, if you have any. You'll lose all determination points at the end of a long rest, and the maximum number of determination points you can accumulate is equal to your level. In addition to that, their level 9 talent is Just Die already, so as an action, you can make a single attack by spending all of your determination points. The bonus to attack and damage is determined by the number of points spent up to the maximum shown on the table below. You cannot choose to spend fewer points than you have. Even if it is more than 6, you must spend them all. And so, by spending all 6 points, you get +21 to attack and +42 for damage. So, doing that is actually a greater deal than just, waiting until you get like +10 points and things like that. So, a very odd talent for sure, because are you really ever going to get up there unless you're super unlucky or you build a character that just isn't that great at hitting, but still you're bound to hit more often than not. So there's that. There are 9 new feats, although 6 are multi-class feats, 2 for each of the 3 classes. So we have combat mechanic. You are an expert in taking down vehicles by hitting them in just the right spot. You gain the following benefits. Whenever you successfully damage a vehicle, but it is not totaled, you can choose the body, control, or power results on the vehicle damage table instead of having the driver of the vehicle roll. We have crazy talk. You have learned how to communicate with crazies and have some insights into their twisted minds. So basically, you can understand the intended meaning of the strange things that crazies say, and you're able to actually communicate with them. Then we have go behind. You have learned how to sucker your opponents into leaving themselves open to a reversal. So when an opponent within 5 feet misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to move directly behind them and make a melee opportunity attack with advantage on the attack roll. You can only use this feat once against a given opponent. Should be worth mentioning that you cannot use go behind while you have 0 movement speed, or there is no reasonable way to move behind an opponent. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks, thank goodness. There is some new equipment, but nothing really outstanding here. In terms of vehicles, we do get the unique Gulfire glider, which surprisingly can go 300 miles per hour, so you better hang on. Most notable are the modifications for vehicles. These change the attributes of your vehicles, and most have some sort of a special property tied with them. So read the special properties for each of the vehicle mods. The biggest new rule for this sourcebook is street cred, and how it kind of replaces wealth. Basically, as the heroes do things that can potentially affect the world around them, they make a streetwise check based on their current street cred level. So it goes from level 0 all the way to level 6, and so at level 0 you are a despised outsider in the community. For instance, a USPF officer is going to have a 0 street cred in the free zones. At level 3, you are well known in the community, have some strong relationships, or are seen as potentially dangerous. You are generally trusted and can pull your weight in community affairs. By the time you're all the way up at level 6, you are pretty much royalty in your community. Some people would gladly die for you. Others would rather die than cross you. Your enemies are legion, but you have legions of your own to keep them at bay. And there is a DC associated with being able to go over to the next level. The other new rule is about the crazy disease. Basically, just be careful if you decide to expose the heroes to it, because it is an eventual game over for them, unless you want to introduce some sort of a cure for it. And here comes the obligatory spoiler warning. If you are planning on playing through this adventure, turn back now, or else you'll turn into a crazy. You have been warned. Liberty Law serves as the adventure for the source book. The adventure takes place 4 years before the events of Escape from New York. The heroes are pressed into the service of the USPF and sent into New York to recover the arming codes for a nuclear bomb hidden in the head of the Statue of Liberty. Failure means nothing less than the destruction of New York and the death of the heroes. Act 1 begins with the heroes being voluntold about their mission and receiving their equipment. They take a sub to Staten Island Ferry Whitehall Terminal, and from there, they have to find their way to the Empire State Building. They can either go to the underground route or the overland route. If they go through the underground route, then they'll have to maneuver past a large group of hostile crazies. If they take the overland route, they'll be ambushed by a group of thugs. So, either way, you could either sneak past the crazies or fight the thugs. Your choice, bro. Act 2 begins as they arrive at the Empire State Building. They'll have to contend with the building's defenses. The building is filled with NLFA soldiers that can be snuck around if they want to climb along the outside of the building, although that's a very difficult task in of itself. Eventually, the heroes will make it to the 79th floor. If they barge their way into the Empire State Building, then they'll be ambushed. But if they somehow manage to sneak their way in, they'll be able to surprise the NLFA soldiers. Once they are dealt with, the heroes will have access to the passcode, but will need to head to the Cathedral of St. John for something else. Along the way, the heroes are ambushed and captured. Not really a big fan of this plot point, and it's only drilled home by the fact that there are 3 different options for the said ambush. The capture serves a purpose to play out some sort of a death race, though. Despite the rough-about way of getting here, I actually really enjoyed the race itself. It works like a pseudo-chase scene, but each of the teams compete against each other. Winning the race grants the heroes a sweet new vehicle, but you could also grant the heroes one of the items needed to complete the mission. Act 3 begins once the heroes earn their freedom and they've made it to the cathedral. There are traps and automated guns waiting for them, and this time they'll have to combat against the Guiding Star family. With the arming device, the passcode, and command key in their possession, the PCs can either follow through with their original mission or create some chaos. Either way, they have won and live to see another day. The end of the book has stats for the NPCs included in the adventure and more. We also get stats for Snake Plissken, Cabby, Brain, and Maggie. There are also 5 level 5 pre-generated characters. One is an agile scoundrel, a strong street warrior, a charming manipulator, a smart mastermind, and a tough scrapper. The adventure is a bit of an odd one for me. There is room to prolong or expand the adventure if you wish. I don't really like how it forces the players to end up kidnapped just to kind of progress things a little bit, but at the same time you do get that pretty sweet motor, like death race sort of a encounter. And that is by far this adventure's strongest point. Each of the different source books adds something unique and different to the overall Everyday Hero system. And I think Escape from New York would really lend itself well to like a Mad Max sort of a game, especially with that Motorhead class that's embedded in it. Then again, I think this would honestly really work with any Battle Royale type game. Other than that, this source book isn't really like Rambo or Universal Soldier. Those source books really changed the genre of Everyday Heroes. So unless you're really interested in a game that has some vehicle modifications, then you might not find a whole lot of value in this specific book compared to the others. Anyways, that's going to do it for now. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a huge thumbs up to support the series, and I will see you guys in the next video.